Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Firsties. So today it's going to be a host-only podcast. You have Mila here, your girl. I'm the host here of Firsties. Before I get into this episode, as always, please make sure you're liking, commenting, subscribing, doing all the things for anyone who's actually doing that. For the person right now who's watching this episode, I want to say thank you. It really means the world to me. I really, really do appreciate it. We're seeing some more engagement on Instagram and TikTok. So again, I do really appreciate everyone who's joining the community, all the firsties out there. It means the world that this content is, you guys are responding to this content, and also you guys are feeling seen and heard. And that's all I've ever wanted to do with the art and the work that I put out there. So again, thank you so much. So this episode, we're going to get a little bit vulnerable, a little bit more. As you guys can see, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable in this chair now, which if you told me a year ago the store I'd be, I would have not believed you, if I'm honest. The reason why I say that is because it's going to be we're going to do Firsties Corner, of course, where if anyone wants to write in or ask any questions, you're more than happy to. I always say I'm not qualified to give you all the answers, but what I can do is share my experience and my insight, and hopefully that helps you guys out. And then I have some questions here that you guys have written in as well. So thank you for everyone. Some of these are from comments. Some of these are from private DMs. I just kind of put them all together. So again, thank you so much for submitting. If you do want to submit, you can submit on firstiespod@gmail.com or info@firstiespod.com, either one. I also am always looking into the Instagram comments as well to see how you guys are responding. But let's jump right into this episode. Now, I recently had a situation, not going to go too much in detail for obvious reasons, where I was placed in a situation where I was kind of forced to tell the truth. Now, something that I had to work on for me is that I am not a confrontational person. Like, truly, I'm very slow to, like, reacting and also just, like, anger or anything like that. I'm not saying there aren't things. I've never been angry before. But I think growing up in an immigrant household, as well as being the youngest in the family, like no one looked to me for like my opinion, right? I was just kind of there. I think one of the reasons why I really do feel comfortable in front of the camera, as well as doing like creative work, is because I was kind of like a performer at the age of like 5 or 6, whether it was like dancing in front of my family and making sure like everyone is good and just making sure the vibes are right at a very young age. That's where I feel kind of safe. And when I was younger, no one's looking to me about like, hey, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of this? I was just kind of like the baby Mila, just kikiing, right? As you guys know, I'm the queen of kiki. Just want to have fun, all the vibes. And but I was placed in a situation, and it was actually freeing. And the reason why I want to talk about this is because I feel as though a lot of people can relate to this, especially if you grew up in an immigrant household. Just we're very good. Coming from an immigrant household, I can only speak from my upbringing, but coming from an immigrant African household, we're really good at sweeping things underneath the rug just to save face, just to keep the peace, right? And then I was realizing that no one was asking, like, whose peace are we keeping, really, right? And I know this might be a little controversial, and I don't hear a lot of people talking of this, at least on like platforms and stuff, at least someone who looks like me. But the reason why I want to talk about it is because for the very first time recently, I'm 28 years old now. For the very first time, there's a situation where I had no choice but to just let out 28 years of what I've always wanted to say, like truth. It's not anything serious or anything like that, but just truth, and how freeing that was. Like truly, like I'm telling you, this is a real life experience that I'm experiencing right now, actually in this seat right now. How freeing it was to finally share what I've always wanted to share, or what I always thought. And the reason why is because I just really had a great skill of just pushing everything down. I think a lot of us can relate that we are really good at like not listening to our emotions, not listening to our body, and just allowing the grown-ups to behave the way that they behave. And then what happens is you grow up and you realize, that might seem a little bit inappropriate, or you do feel as though now you could voice your opinion. Now that you have your own opinions as well, because when you're younger, you're just kind of like, you're in a family and your parents are doing the best that they could with what they have. Truly, I had the best childhood. But no family is perfect, right? And I think a lot of times in immigrant households, we're really good at just keeping everything hush hush, keeping the peace. And again, I've had to recently ask myself, like, wait, whose peace are we keeping? Because like what's going on inside of me and what I was dealing with when I in my younger years, there was no peace there inside of me, but I was just making sure everyone else was good. And although, of course, I still want to have that kind of trait of thinking about everyone else and putting everyone else before me, I think that's a very amazing trait to have. To a certain degree, if it's detrimental to your person or yourself, I think it's too expensive, if I'm honest. And I know, again, that might be controversial. There might be some people that are not agreeing with me, especially probably the older generation. And I know this is more deemed as like, this is a very much an Americanized way of looking at things rather than like the traditional way and how we grew up and stuff. But I think when there are recently, Father Anthony, in one of the services I was at, he said, the most loving thing you can do is tell the truth, truly. And I definitely am guilty of, I want to keep the peace. I want to almost like give you the answer that you're looking for. I'm really good at like reading people for the most part. So like when someone asks me like, hey, even something superficial, I can sense what answer that they want to hear or need to hear. And I really just want them to feel comfortable and loved. But then I realized that no, what's more loving is telling the truth, whatever that is. Because sometimes it could be painful or uncomfortable or awkward. But again, the most loving thing you could do is tell the truth. And I think a lot of people who grew up like me, it would just be more freeing if we all just told the truth. Everything is out in the open, and helping each other out where we need it. Because all families, we all come from different backgrounds. We all have our own trauma, all of our pain, our experiences, all the love, all the happiness as well. But families, that no one's perfect. Like I absolutely love my family. We're not perfect at all. And that was a recent experience that I had that I want to share with you guys. Again, never thought that I would be in this position to be able to share, get a little bit more vulnerable with you guys. I feel like season 2 and 3, I'm just going to be sharing like all the details. So now I also want to talk about how, I want to truly, like with this podcast, really, it's interesting because you guys are going to see the journey, as we grow. So like you guys are going to grow with us, which is really, really exciting. Of my journey of being vulnerable. I'm really not known to be vulnerable because again, I just like 2 weeks ago, I figured out that I had emotions. You know what I mean? Like as just a Habesha girl, that's not a skill or a trait that I grew up with really. I'm really good at like reading the temperature in the room and like, maneuvering through it and seeing where I could fit. That's also another skill that you just learn from coming from a big family, like seeing where you fit because there's so many different personalities and stuff. When people are like, wow, you're such an old soul. It's like, well, am I an old soul or did I just have to grow up pretty fast? Because sometimes of the environment that I was in. Of just whether it was like growing up in high school, figuring out how to take these tests and SATs and getting into school. It's like we had to figure out as we go. It was like on the job training, truly. So I hope by sharing that, people, whoever's listening to this can also be seen and heard. Because I know a lot of us, we are suffering in silence truly from whatever that we're dealing with. And it's not that no one is a bad person or did a bad thing. It's just necessarily that we all have anxiety, depression. I know I've had my bestie, Lena on, and she shared about, some of her trauma as well as her journey with her mental health. And we need to have more conversations like that because I just feel like we're all kind of suffering in silence. And at this point, it's like truly I was placed in a point where I can no longer bite my tongue. And it was just like once I shared the first truth, all these truths came out. And it was really freeing. And it was in a very loving way, but still it was very freeing. And I was like, whoa, I didn't realize how much I needed that. And so I do encourage anyone who's listening, whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, living your truth, whatever that is. And And what I mean by that is, first of all, recognizing that you're dealing with something possibly. And then if that means you have to have a conversation with someone or you have to distance yourself from someone, then please do, because I really do think if it's causing you any harm in any way, it's just too expensive. Really, it's just too expensive. Life is too short. And again, I could already hear probably some of my family members or even some people who just don't know me, who are like old generation, who are just like, that's so very much Americanized. And it's like, well, then it is what it is, right? I think life is this life can be so delicious if we're just able to be a little bit more gracious and speak our truth and the truth. And so I hope anyone who's listening to this can feel seen with what I am sharing. Now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come on back and we're going to get into Firsties Corner. We're going to take a quick break, guys. All right, guys, we are back. Now, we're going to get into Firsties Corners. Like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, if you want to submit any questions or any feedback or even video ideas, I'm more than happy to hear you guys out. You could reach out to us at firstiespod@gmail.com. That's firstiespod@gmail.com or info@firstiespod.com. Hope you do. All right, so let's get into these questions. So this is really like all over the place. There's no like theme here. It's just all the questions that you guys have asked. The very first one is, would you go on Love Island or a dating show? I'm curious as to why someone would ask that, truly. What's so funny, and I was like, whoa, this is such a timely question, because I'm literally watching or binging Love Island USA right now, and it's actually insane. Shout out to my cousin Miriam, who's also the producer on the show, for getting me into it. I'm literally binging it, and it is actually wild. I thought UK was good, but USA is a whole other, there's so much going on. I'm literally binging it tonight. But would I go on Love Island? I don't know. I just think, like, I just got in this seat. I'm still learning how to be vulnerable. So, like, going on camera and have to, like, share my emotions and feelings, and there's cameras all over me. Like, the cameras right now that you guys are seeing, I can control. I'm in the editing room. I know what goes into the show. If I don't have that control, can you guys tell I'm a control freak? If I don't have that control, I would freak out, right? I need a good edit. So I don't know. I always say, like, never say never. I do think most of dating shows, for the most part, they're just so much cringe moments. It's just like, oh my God, it is good TV, but I don't know if I would go on. But I always say, hey, let me not block my blessings. So let me get all the opportunities and I'll decide then. So maybe one day you'll see me on Love Island. We never know. Okay, this next one. Actually, another thing I want to mention is we are potentially working on getting a cast member from one of the seasons of Love Island. We're working on that right now. I'm obviously not going to reveal who yet, but we're really excited to get that person on this show. So exciting. Okay. Next question. When are you coming to Atlanta? So, when are you coming to Atlanta? So I think they're referring to the Ethiopian soccer tournament that's coming up in the July 4th weekend. I was actually planning on going, but due to some scheduling complications, I'm not able to go, unfortunately. I do want to say, I want to shout out some people. E.T., my friend Binyam, who's been on here, my other comedian friend Benny, who's been on here, my other comedian friend Mr. Goopy, or I call him Michael. They're all having a show down there, I believe July 4th. And I'll actually link it down below. So if you're going to Atlanta, please go to their show. They have a crazy lineup with amazing, talented comedians. So please make sure you show some love and you go support. All right, next one. I'm a first gen in Idaho and I don't have any friends. How can I make friends? When I saw this question, I was like, I don't know anything about Idaho. I've never been. I literally could not point it out on the map to you, if I'm honest. I get lost going to the restroom, if I'm quite literally honest. But I would say, I'm actually going to take a page out of my brother's book. He always says, like, go to places where you like to do certain activities, whether that's like rock climbing or a comedy show or like painting, whatever it is. And you'll be able to, because I I'm assuming that when you said I'm a first gen in Idaho, there's not many other Habesha people in Idaho. That's what I'm assuming. So you want to find like-minded people. So if you can't find it through your heritage or your culture, you can find it through your activities or your hobbies. So I would say, get outside and do whatever hobbies that you like, whether that's like vintage shopping or like I mentioned, rock climbing or movies or whatever it is. You'll find like-minded people there because you guys are all bonding over this one thing, and then you could probably have a friendship that way in a more like natural way. I would say that would help. Hope that helps. All right, this next one. I want to be a YouTuber, but my parents don't believe in my dreams. How can I make them see it's a legit career? The only way that you could have them see that it is a legit career is to make it a career, really. But I don't want to, because I don't know everyone's situation. Like currently for myself, I have this podcast. All I do is eat, sleep, and think of this podcast. But I do have a day job, and that also is important to me. That is a priority. And so until this is where I need it to be, I will have my day job. So I don't want you to, because I think we all get really caught up in the outliers who just go to LA on a dream and it works out. It never works out like that. You do have to have a plan. So I would say, honestly, you're going to have to work overtime, meaning do your day job, whatever that career is, to pay your bills, to make sure your parents know you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, but then also have your side gig, which is your passion. And then once that takes off and it is a legit career, I don't think your parents can say anything at that point. Again, I've said it before on other episodes, truly your parents have the best interest for you, truly. They just want to make sure that you're taken care of and you can take care of yourself. So imagine them saying, wait, you want to be a YouTuber? Like, what's that? So wait, you're posting videos on internet for strangers to watch. Like when you actually break it down, it sounds kind of strange, honestly, if you don't know what it is actually, right? So I would say give them some grace, and they should give you some grace as well, but just work your butt off. If you're really passionate about it, be consistent. I'm honestly taking this advice myself as well. Like the YouTube game is no joke. But I absolutely love it and I'm passionate about it. My parents see that, but I also am doing what I'm supposed to be doing, meaning doing my day job. Cause again, bills need to be paid. There's a reality with that. So, I hope that helps you. That is it for the Firsties Corner. I know it's pretty short, but those are the questions that you guys have written in. So again, thank you so much for writing into the show. Please, again, write anything that you guys want. I'm more than happy to go into detail of whatever you guys want to. I am absolutely loving where the show is going. Again, I cannot believe the engagement and the kind of the love and the support that we have. And also some of the criticism and feedback, I also invite that because I think that's how we're going to be able to grow and learn. And so I really, truly enjoy seeing kind of the debate and the discussions that we've had in the comment sections of our Instagram. Keep them coming. I think it's conversations that need to be had. I've always wanted this podcast to be literally a safe space for first gens who dare to dream. That's what I always say at the beginning or the end of this of the show always. Because truly the suffering and silence, that is what's killing us. And I think there's so much that I think this world, but also God could grant us, but we're holding on to the pain. We're holding on to the resentment or the betrayal or, all the things that just this life has to offer, honestly. Because what I always say, being a human being is one of the most ghetto things in the world, right? Because it's uncomfortable, right? And I'm actually going to quote Barbie, where there's a scene that always makes me cry, where she says, the creator of Barbie says, she created Barbie and named it after her daughter because being a human being is uncomfortable. It's one of the most uncomfortable things. So we need things like a doll to, dress up and, make these different careers and to free our imagination because we need kind of that escape. And that really resonated with me. I'm like, oh my God, yeah, that's exactly what all of us are trying to do. Because again, sometimes being a human being is uncomfortable. We don't know what tomorrow brings. So all we can really do is, again, be there for one another, but also speak the truth, what the truth is. I know it seems like, well, duh, Mila, but truly someone coming from someone as a first gen, coming from immigrant parents, I was not taught this skill to speak up in certain rooms. Truly, it was a total opposite of like, you speak when you're spoken to. Don't bring, shame to the family. Be lighthearted and, be kind of like that angelic, pleasant person to be around. Always bring joy. And I naturally do that. I really do. But to a certain point in, certain environments or certain situations that happens, again, it's like, wait, what's the point of being silent, right? Because that's what's actually killing us. What's actually there's more strength and vulnerability that I'm learning in my late 20s than actually like being strong. I put that in air quotes for my audio listeners, and keeping quiet and just allowing certain behaviors to keep going. And I honestly, like, not to get too frank, but I'm kind of just like sick of it when it comes to that in our culture. There's so much that I love about our culture, but then there's parts where it's like we need to be able to talk about these conversations truly, because I think there's so much potential that all of my brothers and sisters can achieve, but you can only achieve that once you reveal what we're all trying to like hide, whatever that is. For me, it was realizing that, oh my God, I'm actually not a confrontational person, and I'd rather want to keep the peace and not say anything. But it's like, well, no, like it could be as little as, like, I feel like my sister and my cousin would appreciate if they asked me, hey, do these shoes look okay? And I just want them to feel okay. So I'm like, yeah, they look cute, but I honestly think they don't look that great. I should speak up. She asked me my opinion. I should speak up and say, hey, yeah, those are not it, right? Like, speaking the truth is the most loving thing you can do for someone, truly. That is it for this episode, guys. I know we were all over the place, but again, this is literally like my digital diary. So hopefully you guys stick around. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. I really do appreciate it. As always, follow Firsties Pod everywhere. That's Firsties Pod, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Snapchat, Pinterest. We're everywhere. But we're most consistent on TikTok and Instagram. So make sure you follow us. And again, if you have any questions or you want to write in, please make sure you do at firstiespod@gmail.com or info@firstiespod.com. And that is it for this episode, guys. We will see you in our next episode. Take care.